Hi everyone. Today we're Team Sierra and we're going to talk about the problem you have inside of Branch Your company. But first we want to tell you a little story. I'm from France and we were very pleased to see the case was about shoes because my whole family is in the shoe business. And we're very excited to do that case and use the knowledge I accumulate around the year to make some better information to answer your questions. So Ashley is going to explain a little more about what we're going to talk about today.
Thank you, Brett. So as you can see, the challenge you presented us with is determine growth obstacles that your company brands, Naturalizer and Sam Edelman, are facing and how to overcome them in the European market. So with that, to come up with some strategies that will enable the wholesale volume to reach 30 million within 5 years. Go ahead. So just first, an overview of what we're going to be talking about today. First, we're going to do an analysis, external and internal. From there, we will give you some alternatives. From those alternatives, we'll give you the best recommendation, and then with the recommendation, a short-term and a long-term implementation plan. So first off, the external analysis, things that are going on outside of your company. So we've seen a lot of opportunities and a lot of threats, but the main opportunity we see, especially regarding this case, is that the German and UK markets will grow with a compound annual growth rate of 2.8% by 2018. So that's $113 billion, which is a huge opportunity in that market. A threat, on the other hand, is the complexity within the diverse European markets, which you guys talked about in the case. So going to the internal, again, a lot of strengths. You guys are a huge company, so well known, especially over here in North America. And then the Naturalizer, which is one of your brands, obviously. And it's a really niche market that goes to women that are trying to find those hard-to-find sizes and widths. So that's a big strength we see as well. For the weaknesses is that the Sam Edelman brand is still early in its growth stage. But as you can see, do it again. What we're going to do is we're going to turn your threats into strengths and your weaknesses into opportunities. We're going to take that complex, diverse European market, and we're going to show you how to use your strengths and make that, how to use our alternative to make it a strength for you guys. It'll no longer be a threat. Same thing for the weaknesses. With that Sam Edelman brand, we're going to target the younger generation, the younger girls that already love this brand, and bring it over to Europe and make that no longer a weakness. Go ahead. So with that, I just showed you that we have a lot of opportunities, a lot of strengths, but because we basically took out the weakness, we took out the threat. That's why we believe that you guys should go forward with an aggressive strategy. And now we're going to look at the marketing mix. I know you guys already know, what your product is, what your price is. But what we did find interesting, so go ahead. Kind of skip these. You guys know your product, 11 brands, very diverse products. Go ahead. And then the price, we believe that your price is perfectly fine. Nothing needs to be adjusted there. So the promotion. What we find here is that you guys have a really big opportunity, especially in the European market. You're doing great over here, but these need to increase in order to get these European girls that you're targeting to get them to know about your product. If you can get more followers on Facebook, more followers, especially for the Naturalizer brand on Twitter and Instagram, because as you can see, it's only 3,000 for Twitter, only 1,000 for Instagram, but Sam Edelman has 14,000 on Twitter and 81,000, so that's a huge gap. So if you can increase those on Naturalizer and even on Sam Edelman, because think about how many young girls use these social medias, we think that can really help promote your product over in Europe. And then again, with placement, you guys know, internationally, that you have that is huge as well. Now I'm going to turn it over to Nelson to talk about the Porter's 5 forces.
Thank you, Ashley. These 5 forces are going to help us analyze the industry of what the competition organization is facing. First of all, we're going to go through the competitive rivalry. Definitely, we think this is strong. Like the Sam Edelman brand is going to face competition. But what you want to focus on is the Naturalizer brand that is going to face competition from Clarks. And with this, what we're going to do, we're going to, since the Naturalizer brand is so focused on a niche market of women who want style and comfort, we're going to use that and turn that from a threat to an opportunity. Next, we're going to move on to the buying power. Women in the European market purchase 6 to 10 shoes a year. Seasonal trends, that means it's changing all the time. So even if there's buying power, we're going to take that and turn it to demand. So turn it from a buying power, which is the threat, to an opportunity by increasing our demand. Then next, we're going to move on to the threat of new entrants. Definitely there is low fixed cost, online sales, which is strong. But what I want to focus on is what we just went through, the buying power and the competitive rivalry, turning from those two, from threats to opportunities. And then next is going to be Harman, and she's going to go through alternatives. Thank you.
Thank you, Nelson. So as you saw, we did our internal and external analysis to analyze the opportunities and threats. So after doing that, we came up with 3 alternatives for suggestions, what we can do with the challenge and what we can achieve in our implementation plan. So our first alternative was we developed relationship with retailers by actually establishing offices in 3 different countries by employing local employees, so that we can have build up that barrier of cultures and different market complexity, like that. Moving on. The second one was expanding on e-commerce. As of right now, Naturalizer and Sam Edelman are really present, they have really good e-commerce presence over there. So rather than doing something new, we wanted to have an aggressive strategy for marketing that on these e-commerce websites, just like as with social media as well. Then moving on. The third alternative is expand product in retail store. It's basically looking onto an opportunity to actually establish retail stores in Europe, or also the stores which already sell Naturalizer and Sam Edelman shoes, to kind of promote our ideology, to have our posters and stuck up on their walls, so that they can advertise and the shoes can be on the market. Moving on. So now I would like to welcome Brett to discuss some of the key success factors that we took into account to give a recommendation on our alternative.
Thank you. So we did the things that are the most important for your alternatives, and we ranked them from the most important to the least important. As you know, brand establishment is very important. People need to know your brand, and they will be loyal to your brand if they know it. You also need profits, like every company is, and you have actually a target of 30 million in wholesale within 5 years. We also want to look at the risk of the alternative. Some of the alternatives are not as risky, and you might want to choose the one that is the most adapted to your problem. We also want to look at the cost of implementation, because some of the alternatives cost more money to implement than other ones. So we want to see how much the investment needs to be in order to obtain the objectives. We also want to look at the technology. The technology, you have more and more sales every year on e-commerce, and you need to keep in mind that it will continue to go on that way. So here are the 3 alternatives. We rank them, 5 being it addresses a problem, 1 being it does not address a problem. As you can see, alternative 1 has the highest ranking numbers, and that is because by having people who look at your brand, people who actually support your brand in local market, they will be able to create a loyalty that you will not get with any other alternatives. And because of that, the brand establishment is 5. It's also, as the one who has, financially, it makes the most sense. We looked at the numbers, the investment is not that huge, and it allows us to make the profit we want, which is 30 million in wholesale within 5 years. And because of that, even if the 2 are close, the e-commerce right now does not. You already are doing it, and we don't feel like you need to push it a lot more right now. That's why alternative 1 is the one we recommend. And Arman is going to explain more what we want to do with alternative 1.
Thank you, Brett. So as we say, analyzing our key success factors, showed that alternative 1 is the ideal one. I would just give a recap. It's basically establishing stores in 3 different countries by employing local employees, so that, number 1, we can develop connections with local wholesalers and, talk to their language, people who are with them, so that, first we can develop trustworthy relationships, and also they don't have to go through the hassle of across country trade, or time zone trade, currency difference. There are people working for Brown Shoe and Company, but they are recruiting wholesalers and finding deals like that. Another thing, this would actually help retailers to order faster and quicker, and also get the utmost best customer service by because they would get their service, and if there is any issue with any product or any consignment, they can just easily approach the office over there and get their issues taken care of. Another important thing that this alternative gives us is the channel of distribution. This alternative takes into account the two-level channel of distribution. Like we know our biggest production of market is in 91% from China, so we get the goods shipped from China to Europe to wholesale, to us, then we sell it to wholesalers, then from wholesalers to retailers, and then it finally reaches the customers. So we follow two-level channel distribution of our goods. Moving on. Now I would like to welcome Nelson to give some light on this implementation of our alternative. Thank you.
Thank you, Hawan. So we are basically not just going to give you an alternative and leave you to implement it. We're going to be with you in 5 years, and that's why we are going to have a short-term and a long-term implementation plan. So first, we're going to tell you who is going to do what and when, how long they're going to do it. As you can see, the sourcing and production development department is going to launch the offices that we are going to launch in Paris, London, and Berlin. As we say, they're going to take care of things like employee training. That's going to happen through the whole first year. Second thing is marketing department. They're going to use their promotion to the best of their ability. Using magazine, using social media, fashion show, everything that we can do, we're going to make sure we pound on the kind of promotion that we can do. And then we're going to do a feedback review to see whether which one is working at the end after the 6 months until the 12 months. Then now from then on, we're going to move on to the long-term implementation plan. Now, once we have the data of which one is really working, we're really going to work with it and use also free social media. For example, if the magazine is working, our marketing department is going to focus on magazines and still use social media as we saw with our numbers before. And then the sales department also is going to try to have a different strategy where we're going to offer the volume discount, hence discourage them from using other suppliers. That's kind of protect us from other suppliers. Something else that also is going to happen is the account and finance department. That's why we have this challenge, meeting the 30 million whole volume sale. We are going to make sure we monitor every year with a milestone review that we are reaching those goals as every single year to make sure we are on track. But something that is going to happen that is really, really cool is the marketing department is going to launch an annual naturalizer walk a mile, but in the UK it's going to be walk a kilometer. This is pretty much giving back to the community. And giving back to the community is good. We are just not making, the organization is just not making money, we are giving back. Pretty much what we do is that we have this mile, we raise as much as we can, and we give to the necessary organization that to help back to the European market. And then also, the HR department is going to hire very talented employees to help the Naturalizer brand to broaden and deepen so that we can be very different from any other brand that wants to copy organization, for example, Clarks. And this is going to set us apart from it being imitated. Something else the sales department is going to do after the second and the third year is trying to a defense strategy to try and convince the retailers to have their shoes only. What is going to happen is that we have incentives that we're going to give to them, how they can benefit, like discounts. Tell them to push sales in their retail stores with the overall goal of setting the organization aside from competitors and having the retailers helping them and help so that they can help the organization to push sales. And with that, I'm going to ask Brett to go through the finances.
So it's nice to have project, but we need to make numbers on this project to see how much it's going to cost you and everything. But first, I think it's important to talk about the situation in Europe. As you can see, the euro has been going down for the last 8 months, and it used to be at 130 in May 2014, and it's only 108 a few days ago. So, and what we looked at is a forecast for the future, and it doesn't look better. It's actually supposed to go down and down within the next 7 months. So what we wanted to see, knowing that you produce a lot of shoes in China, it was interesting to see when your pair of shoes in China would cost you more money than your pair of shoes in Europe. And that's apply only for the European market, as the yuan is linked with the dollar and not the euro. As you can see, if at any period of time the euro goes down to $0.77, your shoes in China, which cost $25 at first, and in Europe $35 for the same pair of shoes, will cost you the same amount at that rate. And therefore you probably would have to think to produce some shoes in Europe for the European market. Most likely it won't happen, but it's still something you need to keep in mind. We also wanted to look at your wholesale market. As you can see, we wanted to make sure that you get the required rate of 15% and your 30 million in wholesale. What we do is Naturalizer, we estimate that we want a required rate of 2.8%, which is a growth rate every year in Europe, and we want to push the Sam Elderman as much as we can. And we want to have a required rate of 14% the first year, 16% the second year, 18% the third year, 20% the fourth year, and 21% the fifth year. And by doing that, we are going to explain you how we did that. It's with the marketing. And in order to achieve these numbers, we need an investment of at least $4 million. And I'm going to show you how we used these numbers. So here is how we would use the $4 million. We want to open 3 offices, and these are the expenses for each office. So you multiply by 3, which is your total per office. As you can see, your office the first year costs you more money because we want to find the right place to make your office, and we want to pay some local tax that you will have. We want to have salaries, but we want to increase the salaries. With such a high increase in sale, you want to make sure your employees are rewarded correctly if they obtain the numbers. So we want to increase by $10,000 until year 5, where it stops at $100,000 a year. We also still have $1.7 million in advertisement. And that's really nice because that allows us to spend $350,000 a year in advertisement to push your brand and to make it more visible to the population. And now I'm going to let Armand talk about mitigation and contingency.
So as we know, in business world, no idea is perfect and everything has its pros and cons. So with our implementation plan and our alternative, we recognize there are some mitigation and contingencies that we need to address in order to have a complete success of our idea. So the first risk was foreign company expansion into a different market, Brown Shoe Company is the new company for European market. So we're gonna address this issue by actually employing local employees, as I mentioned previously, which gonna help us overcome the cultural and the language barrier. Second of all, there is no possibility of exclusive wholesaler right, which my friend Nelson kind of mentioned, retailers might be kind of in a hitch to why would you re-promote your exclusive rights. Well, the solution to is that Naturalizer and Sam Edelman are flagship brands, and and that's going to be after 3 years. So until then, we're going to have a good amount of hold on the market, and then we're going to give some incentives to those retail stores to actually push customers towards ourselves, or enhance our sales and increase their profit ratio as well. Then third one was fluctuation in currencies. As you saw, my friends, Brett's comparison in euro and yuan, it's gonna affect because it's an international trade market, so currencies always play an important role. But with the economic growth rate of CAGR of 2.8% of euro, that inflation or deflation of market cannot can be handled by that and can be smoothed out. The last one was, the marketing strategy may not yield the desired level of expectations and requirement. Well, this can be ensured by really aggressive marketing so that your brand is out there. Right now, Naturalizer and Sam Edelman are really good brands which are doing really good stuff in the United States. But the only reason that they are not too much expanded in Europe is that because of not too much advertising and people really don't know. So as long as we do really aggressive advertising, we will be able to achieve that target of marketing. And then I would like to welcome Ashley to give a conclusion to our presentation.
All right, well, we just want to take another second to thank you so much for taking time out to hear our solution for you guys. Like we stated, we want to build that customer service and have that ordering process by using the representative in those countries. This is also a big opportunity to adapt to the culture and the languages of each country. And we also know that you guys are going through a rebranding period with Claris as the new, as the new company name. So we think that this is a perfect opportunity for you guys to expand into the European market as you are rebranding. So thank you guys again, and we had a pleasure working on this case for you.
Well, thank you very much. That was very impressive. Thank you.
Thank you.
I had one question to start, and then maybe I can hand over. On the slide that you talked about the costs of setting up the operations in Europe, can you tell me a little bit more around the assumptions for those costs?
Well, you're already established, and one way we looked, especially for example, location cost, we actually went directly on the website to find how much it was to rent 2,000 square feet local in a good area in Paris, in London, in Rome, one of the big cities. And that's where we saw that it was around $100,000 a year. That's where we come from with that numbers. For salaries, we looked at minimum salaries but we really wanted to push people since it's a big job. So we really wanted to push people to increase the salaries as they do progress in the job. And that's kind of where we use the assumption.
Okay, thank you.
So the office or store that that's an actual office though? That's just an office to have local or people,
Employee,
Yes.
Yes.
salespeople there
Yes.
to make the connections
Mhm.
with
Yes.
Yes.
the stores?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
There's no presence right now for brown shoes in Europe? There's no salespeople?
There is a
That was the
presence. There is presence, but when we looked at it, a lot of stores and wholesalers want a big support when they are in Europe. And they feel like international companies, especially if they are abroad, like America, they don't have that fast support that they could have if they have a sales rep in that country to get a support right away. And that's what we want to push. Because European brands do have that support
So
there.
how many sales office do you have right now? Or
There's none.
Oh, there's not, no
No,
presence right
so
now.
that's why we want to, but there is
So
people working
There's
for
nothing, and on year 0, you show the sales already at 14 and 5, and then go to
That's what it is,
20, and
yes.
then go down to 30. Right now, it's already $20 million?
Yes, and
Yes.
mostly e-commerce.
Without any salespeople, without a
Yes.
good presence, that you already did 20.
Distributors.
Yes.
It's a little less than that, actually. but-
Okay, 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 very good. So have you identified the retailers? Who to go after, and what country, and which one to priorities wise?
I think whenever it comes to that regards, we're going to, so for the wholesaler, obviously we need to go and find out with the customers, where are our customers that we're targeting, where are they shopping? Exactly. So we need to figure out where to go based on research. That's
Okay.
what we need to
So
do.
it hasn't been done yet, but
Well,
you're
yes.
saying that you want to go after
Yeah.
having established office, have
Yes.
the people, and then start
And that's,
to
and that's where that
talk to
representative comes
retailers
from
and-
as well, is knowing the country,
Yes.
because they're gonna know the first place to go, they're gonna know what store to talk to, they're gonna know, well, where would this brand be the best in this country? And that's kind of another reason why we think that representative would do a great job with
So you want
that.
to try and localize it.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
local
stores-
employees, yeah.
The stores help the retailers, and the retailers help the consumers.
Also, you talked, I think, in one of the latter slides about a lot of marketing support for the brand.
The implementation
yes.
plan probably.
Here.
That one, yeah. Where was that in the financial analysis?
For your marketing,
Yeah, the marketing investment.
we put it at 350,000. I didn't
Yes.
detail it, but it was
Okay.
a budget of 350,000 a year for 5 years.
Okay.
And we have free social media too. As you can see, the numbers of people following us on Instagram, your organization on Instagram, there's a lot of followers, and we need to take advantage and reach to them. And that's why we're going to use advertisement to reach them, because they're already out there.
Yeah, so earlier you mentioned that the current social media in the US is pretty good, and I'm not in the consumer business, but having 170 Facebook and only 10,000 Twitter followers is nothing on the consumer market, right? When you have a target market audience of 20 million. So I just want to hear the perspective. Why do you think that
Oh.
it's already pretty good in
That was, yeah, that was me. Well, I think with the, can you go back to it so I can see the exact numbers? Sorry if this makes you guys dizzy. Maybe don't look. I just want to get the exact number so I'm not like completely guessing.
Almost there.
Almost.
Right
Right
there.
there.
Okay, so
Yeah.
like we were saying, I mean, if you look at any on Facebook, if you look at any big company, because
Okay.
we looked at Abercrombie and Fitch, we looked at some of those big companies,
Yeah.
which I know they're not shoes, but still the same idea. Around 100,000-ish likes. So that doesn't just mean, that just means someone went to the page and liked it. That doesn't
Sure.
mean that I could still go to Naturalizer and
You
not
see it and-
necessarily
okay.
like the
Yeah.
page.
Okay.
That doesn't mean that more people don't look at it. We just want to get more people to actually like the page and to be following the page. And that's where we think, like I said, Naturalizer with the Twitter and Instagram, that's really low, especially compared to Sam Elderman. But we think that that might have to do also with the target market because, like we said, Sam Elderman, that's the younger generation. They're all on Twitter and Instagram.
So if you compare Sam Edelman, say like Jimmy Choo and all that. you
Yeah,
know,
to like Nine
and-
West and yeah,
And
those.
compared to
Uh-huh.
those, how many likes?
It's Similar.
It's pretty similar.
Really?
Yes,
Wow.
it is pretty
Okay.
similar. So, it's actually very popular.
Okay.
So we were really impressed by that too. But we think,
I don't buy women's shoes.
You
Yeah.
don't like it?
but definitely to go over to Europe, that is going to have to increase because social media is so big nowadays. That's where girls, that's where they figure out where
Yes,
they want to
the
buy
trend,
their
yeah.
shoes.
Do you have
So-
a strategy for doing that in Europe with all the different languages? I would imagine
Right.
most of these are American customers.
Right. And the good thing about Twitter and Instagram too is you can get so many different Twitters. So like you can have an American Sam Edelman Twitter and then you can have a Spanish one. You could have a French one. So you can make those different ones. Like we saw Naturalizer actually had another, it was an English one and then another country. I saw it on Facebook. I can't remember what country it was. So you can, target those different areas because like you said, someone that speaks Spanish isn't going to go look on
Yes.
Facebook and find the English-speaking Naturalizer. So that's a definite way to target it first is get those different channels out and be able to have people follow you right away.
And something actually I would actually like to add to that, like Sam Edelman and these brands, like we saw there was a commercial with Kate Upton for Sam Edelman shoes,
Yeah.
like that, and that was for American base. So if that was in our perspective, that if we look forward and if we are transferring to Europe, like let's say Cara Delevingne, who is from London, so if we get some celebrity star power to kind of combine with us, that would actually give a lot of likes and that social media attention to
Yes.
us. And also, the social media is actually not bounded by any geographic contents. You can have different like that, but it's not like the Naturalizer USA would not open in Europe or
Right.
Canada. So that's something that we also looked into as
Very
well.
good. More questions? Fantastic.
Okay.
Well, thank you so
Thank you so
much.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you
much
so
indeed.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.